Many years ago, when I first visited England, we were shown a chair, probably in St Paul's, which was used in the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. It was an old chair, but the symbolism was that she was taking up an ancient throne, authority that went back a long way. More recently, I visited the Forbidden City in Beijing, and there is a throne room. Although they don't have a king anymore, the throne room is established, but there are not many throne rooms in the world. The Oval Office isn't really a throne room because the President of the United States doesn't have absolute authority. His authority is moderated by the American Senate. And similarly, in the Australian Parliament, we don't have a throne room as such because our Prime Minister or even our Governor-General does not have absolute authority. But when we come to heaven, there is a throne in heaven, and the one who sits on that has absolute authority. Yet the picture that is presented of the Scriptures is that there are others gathered around the throne who have input into the decisions made by the one on the throne. In Job we read of the day when the sons of God, that is, the angels, present themselves before the Lord, before his throne. And in that account we saw that Satan could not move against Job until the Lord granted him permission. And then it was a very qualified permission. He was not permitted to kill Job. And in 2 Chronicles 18, Micaiah tells Jehoshaphat and Ahab, "Therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, with all the host of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who will persuade Ahab king of Israel to go up, that he may fall at Ramoth-Gilead? So one spoke in this manner, and another spoke in that manner. Then a spirit came forward and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said to him, In what way? So he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. And the Lord said, You shall persuade him, and also prevail. Go out and do so. In this account we see there are those on the left and those on the right, a similar structure to what we have in our parliament with the government and the opposition. In the throne of heaven that we see in Revelation chapter 4, we find 24 elders gathered around the throne. Evidently, those gathered before the throne varies on the day. The throne is glorious. The one who's sitting on the throne is glorious. From the throne proceeded lightnings, thunderings, and voices. 7 lamps of fire were burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. Before the throne there was a sea of glass, like crystal, and in the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures, full of eyes in front and in back. The first living creature was like a lion, the second living creature like a calf, the third living creature had a face like a man, and the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. The 4 living creatures, each having 6 wings, were full of eyes around and within, and they do not rest day or night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, who was, and is to come. And whenever the living creatures give glory and honour and thanks to him who sits on the throne, who lives for ever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him who sits on the throne, and worship him who lives for ever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honour and power, for you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we continue to share what John saw when he entered the throne room of heaven. The throne room is glorious, but his attention is drawn to the general scene. The elders on their 24 thrones, with golden crowns on their head. the sea of glass in front of it, like crystal, the 4 living creatures, and the 7 lamps of fire, which are the 7 spirits of God. The things that are in the throne room are there to signify the nature of the one on the throne. And we are told that he is one who lives for ever and ever. Earthly thrones have someone else taking them up. Solomon built himself a magnificent throne, which is described in 2 Chronicles chapter 9. The king made a great throne of ivory, overlaid it with pure gold. It had 6 steps, with a footstool of gold, fastened to the throne. There were armrests on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the armrests. 12 lions stood there, one on each side of the 6 steps. Nothing like this had been made for any other kingdom. But he could not keep that throne. He had to pass it on to his son. And there is nobody sitting on that throne at the present time, because the children of Israel rejected their Lord and their king, and so he has gone away for a time. But we are told he shall return, and he shall take up his kingdom, and believers pray for it regularly. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, as it is in heaven. The throne is pure. The sea of glass, like crystal, implies purity. And we have the 4 living creatures full of eyes in front and back. Now the eyes, whatever that means, are characteristic of these heavenly beings. Isaiah briefly described the same place. In Isaiah chapter 6, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above it stood seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The seraphim correlate with the 4 living creatures, each also having 6 wings, and also crying out, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come, and honouring the Lord, for you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created. Ezekiel also saw a vision which fills in some details for us in chapter 1. He saw a raging fire engulfing itself. The brightness was all around it, and radiating out of the midst like the colour of amber out of the midst of the fire. And from within came the likeness of 4 living creatures. They had the likeness of a man. Each one had 4 faces. Each one had 4 wings. Their legs were straight. The soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' feet. They sparkled like the colour of burnished bronze. The hands of a man were under their wings on their 4 sides, and each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched each other. The creatures did not turn when they went, but went straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, each one had the face of a man. Each one had the face of a lion on the right side. Each one had the face of an ox on the left side. Each of the 4 had the face of an eagle. And he goes on to speak about the wheels that were so high they were awesome, and their rims were full of eyes, all around the 4 of them. And above the firmament, over their heads, was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like a sapphire throne. And on the likeness of a throne was a likeness of the appearance of a man high above it. He also was the colour of amber, with the appearance of fire all around. And again, like the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around it. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. Putting it all together, we can appreciate the power and glory of the throne, and the one who sits on the throne.